Thank you again for clicking on this video. This is the 5 years licensed series. This is chapter 2 and chapter 1 is already in this playlist. So just so you know, I'm in California and at 1600 hours we are done with our cosmetology program, and then we are able to take our state board test. So we can either choose in California to go to Fairfield, which is closer to Sacramento, or we can go to Glendale, which is closer to LA. I chose Glendale. So I'll kind of back up and talk about the kit that you need to take your state board test. So your practical exam, you need your doll head and any and all implements or tools or supplies for all of the procedures that are gonna take place during that practical exam. The school that I went to prepared us for every single procedure, so we knew exactly what we were going to be asked to do. But when I graduated back in 2015, that's how it worked. So I rented my kit from the school. For the practical, you really had to make sure that you knew exactly what was expected of you. So I'll back up in a second and tell you how it is when you get there, but they have to tell you what you're doing, and then they have to have a written copy of what you're doing right there at your station. So that way, if you do get lost, you can actually go look at it. But I'll back up. On your letter from State Board, will tell you when, where, and what time to get there, basically. So my sister dropped me off, I think it was like 6:15 in the morning. I had my kit, I had a Ziploc bag, a clear Ziploc bag with my letter from State Board telling me that I was supposed to be there that day, my ID, and some cash so that I could get something to eat later, and I think that, and like a pen or something, but I left my phone with my sister because there's absolutely no phones at State Board. At least there wasn't at that time. I'm pretty sure they're not going to allow phones ever, but hey, I could be wrong. You get there early in the morning, you stand in line, they check the letter that State Board sent you, and you have to have it with you that day, and they check it with your ID. So they want to make sure that your name matches, your address matches, that everything is the same, and that way they know that it's really you coming and taking your test. As soon as they check your letter and your ID and they make sure that everybody is where they're supposed to be, then they kind of break you up into groups. They explain to you what's going to happen. Some people will take the written exam first. Other people are going to take the practical exam first. For the practical, I actually took my practical first. So they take you into this long hallway, and like I said, this was back in 2015, might have changed, but they take you into this long hallway, and there's almost like classrooms down this hallway. And so the classrooms are like six hair stations, basically like setup stations. And so they have obviously a mirror, and then somewhere for you to put all your supplies, and then somewhere for you to clamp your doll head onto. And then they have a little side table, which is going to end up being your manicure table for the manicure part, right? So at my school, they told us we could use the manicure table as like a setup next to us if we wanted. So if you didn't want to keep constantly reaching towards the mirror, you could have your manicure table as kind of like part of your setup. So I did that. And no one else did it in the room that I was in, but I was like, I don't care. I was told I was able to do it. So you have to set up with your towel and then your paper towel on top of that. Basically, like as sanitary as you can do things, that's what they want to see. They want to see that you're clean, that you're sanitary. If you drop something and you pick it up and you put it in your soiled container, that you're sanitizing, disinfecting your hands after, even literally, I would sanitize my hands just when I didn't know what else to do, you know? So what happens is they start you out in your classroom and you're all set up, and they read you the instructions. They read them like twice. And then they have them written for you so you can actually see if you want to read along or if you want to refresh your memory, like if you get kind of lost of what you're supposed to do, you can read it. And then every time you're done with the procedure, the proctor, or the person that is giving you your instructions, is supposed to walk around and turn the page. You are not allowed to turn your own page. They have to do it for you because they don't want you looking ahead or anything like that. It's very controlled. It's a very controlled environment. My proctor was in a big hurry. I don't know what was going on with her that day. She was a little she was not in a great mood that day. I don't know what was going on with her, but she was not in a great mood. She was not very nice to us. But my thing was like, I'm not here to be friends with her. I'm here to pass my test. Like, that's it. So I was just like, whatever. The girl next to me was very nervous. So about halfway through my practical, we were doing the haircut, and she was coming around checking. But our proctor, like I said, was in a big hurry. So instead of giving us like the full 10 minutes, she would kind of gauge like where we were at in the procedure and be like, oh, okay, we can move on. Because as long as like most of us were almost done, I think she felt like, okay, let's just hurry this up, which for some people it threw them off. It didn't really throw me off that much because I was like, okay, like, but it was making everything just go faster and faster and faster. So I had my little manicure table set up for the haircut, and I guess it was in her way when she was coming around checking everyone's haircuts, and she rolled it, kind of aggressively rolled it across the room. Like, what is this doing here? And she kind of like threw it across the room, but because it was on wheels, it like rolled, you know what I mean? So I was just like, And the more you talk, like, you're not supposed to talk. You're not supposed to talk to each other. You're not supposed to talk to the proctor. You're supposed to be completely silent because, again, it's such a controlled environment. They don't want you talking. They don't want you helping each other. It's like, no talking whatsoever. So when she threw my table across the room like that, I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything. I just walked over, brought it back, and like put it like closer to my mirror so that it wouldn't be in her way if she decided to walk back that same way, which I was like, okay, dramatic, whatever. And like I said, she was kind of not in a great mood anyway, so I was like, I'm not gonna be the one that she like yells at, because she was like yelling at the girl next to me, like made her cry. It was crazy. Super nerve-wracking, but if you practiced your practical, if you practiced all the procedures and you know exactly what to do, some schools will offer like extra tutoring or extra classes or extra coaching on like what exactly to do in the practical. Some people, because of whatever reason, they freeze up or they're not good at test taking. That is totally understandable, because a lot of us are not good at taking tests. A lot of us are not good under pressure. A lot of us get a lot of anxiety with that type of stuff. So if you are that type of person, or you know that you're that type of person, I would say really, really, really practice and get to the point where you're just going through the motions, and you can psych yourself up and pretend it's just another practice session, because it's already a stressful day. Don't make it more stressful on yourself, right? So for me, after my practical, everything's done. You know, we had to do a facial portion of the test. We had to do a manicure portion of the test as well. So after all that's done, then they tell you, okay, we're gonna release you. Go ahead and pack up your kit. A bunch of us walked over to the Subway sandwiches next door. We were able to eat. We were able to talk to each other. I was like, we hadn't talked in like 3 hours. So we were all like, hey, where are you from? Where are you from? Where are you from? You know, and like, you kind of do develop like this little camaraderie. I will never forget, this girl like would not give up her phone when we first got there, and everybody was telling her like, dude, do you know like they could have disqualified you and like sent you home without taking the test? And she was like, I know. Like, it was just one of those things where we all were able to finally say it. So it was just like, girl, why would you not give up your phone? Like, you know you're not supposed to have your phone. Anyway, I'll never forget that, because we were just all like, girl, what is the problem? So we had a break, and then we were able to go back in the building and wait for the written test. So after like, I think it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock, they took us into a room, and one by one we were able to take our picture. So that's the picture that's on your very first license. So they take your picture, and then they're like, okay, so you can wait, and then we'll call you in to take the written exam when there's a computer available. So it's like a computer lab, and everybody's test is different. There's like, I want to say more than 100 questions, like 110 or 115 questions on the computer, and 100 of them count and the rest don't, but you don't know which ones are which, right? So I would say if you're studying for the written exam, flashcards, there's books you can buy, there's practice tests that you can take. If you're not a good written exam test taker, they're all multiple choice questions. So If you need flashcards, do them. If you need practice tests, do them. Do whatever it takes for you to be comfortable with all of the subject matter. So like anatomy, chemistry, biology, color theory, sanitation, the bones. Like I had so many bone and blood questions. It was crazy. Like it's crazy. So after you're done with the written, they give you, I think they give you like 2 hours. So you can go back and check your answers. You can go back and change your answer. If you don't read the question, like that was my big problem, is I had to go back and read the question like 3 or 4 times to make sure I knew exactly what they were asking, because sometimes I don't know if they do it on purpose, but sometimes the questions are a little misleading if you're just glossing over them and just answering them however. They really want you to read the question and understand what it is that they're asking you. So I would say slow down, read the question a couple of times, make sure you're 100% sure, and then go back and check your answers at the end if you have time. So I got done with the written, and then we had to wait like maybe another hour in that other room, and then they call you up one by one and give you your results. They ask you not to be like super loud. If you do pass, not to like celebrate too much in front of people, because they're trying to move along and give everybody their results that day. So everybody can't have like 5 minutes to just be like, oh my God, I passed, you know? So they kind of tell you to like keep it to yourself and then celebrate later away from everyone else. And also so that other people don't feel bad if they don't pass. So what happens is you can pass, obviously you can pass both, or you can pass one or the other and fail the other, right? So if you pass both of them, they give you your license right then and there. It has your picture that you had just taken a couple hours earlier, and you're done. If you failed one or both, then they give you a letter to reschedule. So if you pass your written and you don't pass your practical, you have to come back and do your practical again. If you pass your practical but not your written, then your written, you can almost all the time you can take it in your city that you went to BD school in. You don't necessarily have to come back to that testing site. Written is a little bit more flexible. You can do it, like if I had failed the written, I could have taken it in Fresno. But if I had failed the practical, I would have had to go back to Glendale. So that's basically how that worked at the time. Like I said, some of the stuff might have changed, I'm not sure. They called my name, I went up, they said, congratulations, you have your license. It is like, oh man, I have it now, you know? So it is very, it's a lot. Like you really do, like, I don't know, it's like a weird feeling of like, yes, I did it, and now what, you know? So I went downstairs, my sister, because I didn't have my phone on me, so I actually borrowed one of the girls that was in my group. We went back to Subway, and we were sitting there, and I asked to borrow her phone, and she let me call my sister, and my sister like came and got me, and we just left. I thought like, oh, we'll stay in LA, like, and have dinner in LA and stuff, but we both were like, okay, let's go. And so we got back to the Fresno area, you know, around 6:30, 7 o'clock at night. So that's how I got my license. And, you know, I know a lot of people have had different experiences in Fairfield and in Glendale than I had. But I honestly, overall, I had a good experience. I passed, which was like the biggest, that was my biggest, like for me, it was like, I don't really care how the day goes. I just want to pass. And so it was really exciting. You get to take a pic, you know, everybody does a selfie with their new license and posts it on social media, and everybody's like, oh, congratulations. It's a good time. It's definitely a good time. So yeah, so if you are going to take the state board test, feel free to ask me any questions. I would love to, you know, kind of answer any questions that I can answer. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Chapter 3 is coming up next. Thanks and have a great day.